There's this paradox, a huge puzzle that kind of shapes our world. How can a continent with just unimaginable natural wealth also be home to such profound poverty? And that's what we're going to dig into today, the great wealth paradox of Africa.
So, yeah, this is the big question, right? The one that's at the heart to this whole thing. I mean, think about it. The stuff that makes our modern lives possible, the materials in our phones, our cars, even our jewelry, so much of it comes from Africa. So how is it possible that the continent itself struggles with such deep economic hardship? It just doesn't add up. Let's get into it.
Okay, so look at this. This slide really just lays it all out, plain and simple. On one side, you've got this incredible treasure chest of resources. I mean, stuff that literally powers the global economy. And on the other side, the reality on the ground for millions of people. Things like crumbling infrastructure and just a daily struggle for the basics. This huge gap, that's the paradox we're digging into.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we're going to really try to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of Africa's riches. Then, we'll look at the forces, both inside and outside, that are holding things back. And finally, we'll look at what the future could hold. Sound good? Let's dive in. Okay, first things first. When we say Africa's wealth, what are we really talking about? Because the scale of it, well, it's just staggering. It's almost hard to believe.
Get this. Just let this number sink in for a second. 30%. That's how much of the world's entire mineral reserves are located on the African continent. We're not talking about a small slice of the pie here. This is a massive foundational piece of the entire global resource puzzle. And look, this isn't some abstract idea we're talking about. It's real, and it's in your life right now. I mean, just look at the phone you're probably holding or is in your pocket. The cobalt in that battery, chances are it started its journey in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And it's not just phones. It's the fuel in our cars, the gold we might wear, even the chocolate we eat. So much of it flows from Africa, making the continent an absolute cornerstone of the global supply chain. But, and this is a huge but, here's where the economic trap is. So imagine a country exports a ton of raw cocoa beans. They might get paid, let's say, $2,000 for it. Okay, but then the finished chocolate bars made from those exact same beans are imported back into the country and sold for like 10 times that price. All that extra value, all that profit, it's captured somewhere else. And that makes it incredibly difficult to build up local industries and create real wealth at home.
So that's the big question, isn't it? If all this wealth is there, sitting in the ground, why isn't it turning into prosperity for the people? And to answer that, well, we have to look inward. We have to look at the internal struggles that can stop a nation from reaching its full potential.
And when you look at the source material on this, a clear pattern of internal challenges starts to show up. We're talking about things like public money that's supposed to build roads and schools just vanishing. Key decisions being made behind closed doors with no transparency. And, in some situations, you even see leaders changing constitutions just so they can stay in power, which totally stifles any kind of democratic progress.
And the effect of all this, it's absolutely devastating. And it's real. This isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet, It's about the school that never gets built. It's the hospital that doesn't have medicine. The road that just crumbles away. It cuts right to the heart of the trust between people and their leaders.
But look, these internal issues, they're only half the story. To really get the full picture, we have to look outward and examine the really long, really complicated history of outside influence on the continent.
So, to get a handle on these external pressures, there's a key concept we need to unpack. It's called neo-colonialism. Basically, it's the idea that even after a country becomes politically independent, other, more subtle forms of control, through money, through politics, through corporate power, can keep shaping its future, and crucially, its access to its own natural resources.
Okay, and this is where the debate can get pretty intense. Critics will point to what they see as a clear pattern. You've got foreign companies pulling out immense wealth, but very little of it actually benefits the local population. They also question why foreign governments sometimes support leaders who might not have their own people's best interests at heart. And then there's the money trail. Too often, the profits flow right out of the country instead of being put back into the local community.
And here's the crucial thing to understand. These two things, the internal governance problems and the external pressures, they aren't separate issues at all. They actually feed each other. One creates the perfect environment for the other, and together they can lock a nation in this vicious cycle that's just incredibly hard to break out of.
So, after hearing all that, it's easy to think, wow, is the situation just hopeless? But the answer is absolutely not. Let's pivot a bit. Let's talk about the future and look at the actual strategies being discussed to finally
Finally, turn all this wealth into real, shared prosperity for everyone.
Now, the road ahead, it's not simple. There's no magic bullet. It's going to take action on every single front. It has to start at home, right, by building strong, independent institutions and really cracking down on corruption. It also means making that big shift from just exporting raw materials to actually manufacturing finished goods locally. And maybe most important of all, it's about investing in the continent's single greatest resource, its young people. And at the same time, demanding a much fairer system of global trade.
And that really brings us to the heart of the matter. Look, this isn't an either-or kind of problem. Real, lasting progress can only happen when genuine reforms inside these countries are matched by fair and respectful partnerships from the rest of the world. One without the other, it just won't cut it.
I want to leave you with this one powerful idea from our source material that really just captures the whole point of what we've been talking about. The goal, the whole point, is to change the story from one of extraction to one of empowerment, to make sure that the incredible wealth that comes from African soil finally uplifts African lives. Thanks for tuning in.